from the Fort Defiance Humane Society and also Tori Guilford.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here again. It's been a couple of years. A couple of fun facts for Fort Defiance Humane Society, for those of you that may not be familiar with us. We are a private nonprofit 501c3 organization. We are not county owned or operated. A lot of people think we are run by the county. We are not. We are a private entity, but we do take in dogs from the dog warden. They pick up dogs, they bring them to our facility. They're on hold for a period of time, and from there, once that hold period is up and they're not reclaimed, they, the kitten's coming to dad. Oh my goodness.
You gonna auction them off? You gonna auction them?
Yeah, we can.
No!
I guess we can.
No!
Yes, we
Can't
can.
find a home that way.
I didn't hear you say how many cats got adopted last year, none?
Not as many.
Okay.
Not as many. So we do take in dogs from the dog warden. Right now they are bringing in about 55% of the animals, the dogs that come into us. And our contract nets out about 7% of our annual income. So our numbers are definitely out of balance right there. We are a no-kill shelter, and by that it means that we only euthanize in extreme cases of medical, where there really is no other option for them, or in the case of a behavioral issue where they're going to be dangerous to adopt out. Last year, I'm very proud to say we had 0 euthanasias, so all of our animals were adopted out. 93% of our income comes from donations. We are, again, a private nonprofit, so most of our income is from donations, grants, and then our otherwise fees, adoption fees, things like that. Our 2 biggest expenses are going to be labor, of course, to care for the animals, and then our medical care. We spend thousands of dollars every year on the medical care of the animals coming into us. All of our animals, when they come in, they're all vaccinated, they're tested, they're microchipped, they're spayed and neutered, they're dewormed. That's just the basics for everybody that comes in the door. Most of them coming in also need additional medical care of some sort. Some extreme, in some cases, where they need surgical care and expensive operations. So we spend a lot on our medical care. Adoption fees, people always come up and say, wow, they seem really high, and why don't you give them away for free and all of that. Fees, again, are part of how we make our revenue to pay for our operating expenses. And adoption fees actually only cover about 1/4 of the cost of that animal that's in our care. Again, that's on average. Some are with us longer than others, but on average it covers about 1/4. So it's a very small percentage. The rest needs to be made up with donations and grants and things like that. We also employ the only humane agent that covers the entire county. She is the person and the only person in the county that investigates any type of animal cruelty, neglect, abandonment, and abuse. And for those that get charged, she also follows that through the court systems as well. We do also offer a pet food pantry. Not everybody's aware of that, but to help our community. People fall on hard times at times and maybe lose their job, and we do our best to help them with food and supplies so that they're able to keep their animals with them at home and hopefully get back on their feet. So that's something we are very proud of offering our community as well. And just as a side note, we do get a lot of donations of food and supplies. That's how we survive. But on average, just to give you a round number, it costs about $132 a day to feed the animals in our care. Again, on average. So that's why we're always doing posts trying to get donations, because it's almost impossible to keep up with those numbers if you're buying that retail. really what I wanted to talk about is it's really a crisis that we're facing not only locally, but it's nationwide. We are facing times that we've never seen before. So a couple statistics for you about animals, not so much the adoption rate, but on incoming animals, intakes. In 2023, there were 6.5 million animals brought into shelters nationwide. So while 2.4 were adopted out, that leaves a big gap still left there. On average, annually, nearly 1 million animals are euthanized just because of sheer space. There's not enough space. And in the high kill shelters, those are just huge numbers. 2023 was also a year that we saw more dogs get euthanized than cats. That's never happened in the past. But because of this crisis that we're in, we are just overpopulated with animals. Our communities are saturated with animals, and there's just nowhere for them to go anymore. We're also seeing lower adoption rates. So while that number sounds good, the 2.4 million, that's actually lower than what it's been in the past, and it's not keeping up with the numbers of intakes. So expenses are up, adoptions are down, donations are down because of economy. You know, just economically, we're all struggling a little bit with prices going up. It's really caused a national crisis for us across the board in the animal welfare industry. And certainly, as I mentioned, the economy is a factor there. You know, anybody that has a dog or cats, you know that the price of food went up at least by a third. Vet care went up. We're also seeing a shortage of veterinarians across the country, which is also a separate problem that we're having. But, you know, prices are up, so it's harder for people to maintain animals, to keep their animals. We're seeing higher numbers of people surrendering their animals simply because they can't care for them anymore. But the real issue that is causing, the real root cause that is causing the problems that we're seeing with these numbers is one word, and that's breeders. So we've seen in the last 5 years, just to give you some statistics, about 5 years ago in just the state of Ohio, we had 290 high volume breeders, which to me seems like a lot anyways. As of June, we're up to over 500, just in the state of Ohio. These are high volume breeders that are just pumping out litter after litter after litter. What they do is they sell them, they wholesale them, they sell them to pet stores. There's online sales, there's all kinds of things that they do with them, but it's a money-making business. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's the gist of it. Across the US, there's 10,000 puppy mills. 10,000 puppy mills across the United States. Again, these are just the ones that are registered. This isn't the ones that are, you know, kind of doing it backyard style. 10,000. I mean, you can only imagine the number of puppies that are coming out of here. And the number is 4.3 million every year are coming out of these facilities. That's only half, because half of them don't survive because of the poor conditions that these mills are operating under. Over 500,000 dogs are kept solely for breeding purposes. So, I mean, these are big numbers. And what happened is, during COVID, when everybody was home with nothing to do, they started going out and adopting puppies. And they started adopting them from breeders. You know, the Cavapoos and all the different, you know, mixes of breeds, which, by the way, they're no longer purebreds, they're mixes. So they started, you know, really pumping up that industry. And as you can see, in the last 5 years, that industry has, at least in Ohio, has doubled. In Ohio, the most prevalent county is Holmes County, southern side. It's horrible for the animal conditions that are there. Ohio ranks number 2 on the horrible 100 list of breeders in America. So we have a lot of problems right here at home. It's a nationwide issue, but a lot of it is right here at home. And we're seeing the results of that at the shelters with the numbers that are coming in, longer stays. I've got a waiting list as long as my arm for people wanting to surrender their dogs that I will never get to because we simply don't have the space. And as soon as we get a kennel free, a stray comes in from the dog warden. And I almost don't even want to use the word stray because the reality is, with cats, okay, there's stray cats, there's feral cats, they live outside, they live on their own. We all know that. We don't have dogs living on the street. We don't have wild dogs or even stray dogs just living on their own on the street. The dogs that come to us are somebody's pets. They had an owner, and those owners chose not to come get them. So they're not really strays. And that's a term we're kind of getting away from even using in our facility. So back to these breeders. There's virtually no regulation, and that's the real heart of the issue. They are regulated, and I use that word very loosely, under the Department of Agriculture. Department of Ag, last time I checked, had a total of 5 inspectors for the entire state. So they're not getting around to too many. And after COVID, they actually had during COVID, they had stopped even going to do on-site inspections. So it's an industry that is gone rogue, and there's really no regulation for it, which is why we're in the situation that we're in. Their emphasis is on quantity, not quality. They have continuous confinement of these animals. Here's another little fun fact of one of our laws. It just shows you how weak our laws are around this topic. If you're in a breeding facility and they're all confined typically in wire kennels, the kennel only needs to be 6 inches larger than the animal by law. 6 inches larger. So these animals are kept in total confinement, really not walked, not exercised. They're very little socialization. They are very little human contact, no enrichment, poor sanitation, food, all of that is just, it's deplorable conditions that they're in. And yet there's 10,000 of these across the US. There's minimal to no vet care. And as I said on the puppies, half of the puppies don't even survive the first 12 weeks because they're just sick and they don't get cared for. We have to do something about these situations, and strengthening our laws and strengthening our regulations are really the only thing that we can point to. We have to get better about this, and it's that's one way to approach it. The other approach is to not buy from breeders. And that is, again, an area that we've got to get under control, not only in our own state, but across the country. These animals are suffering. They're absolutely suffering in these conditions. I can tell you with one of my dogs, I have 3 golden retrievers. One of them came from one of these breeding facilities as a stray. When I took her home to foster her, she didn't know what grass was. She was afraid to walk on the grass because they never see grass. She didn't know how to eat out of a bowl or drink out of a bowl because they're simply just throwing food into their kennels. She didn't have enough strength in her back legs to jump up on the ottoman because she was so weak from being confined in a kennel. And she was so under-socialized, it took literally a year to get her to come out of her shell and come around strangers other than my husband and I. I've had her now 2 years, and she's finally becoming a dog. She's playing. She didn't know how to play with a toy. She had no idea what to do with a toy. Those simple things that, for any of us that have animals, you almost kind of take it for granted. They don't even have the simple things in these breeding facilities. They're just absolutely horrible conditions. And that's what happens to these animals. For the puppies that don't sell, or the animals that they're done breeding, for whatever reason, they kill them. Or you get rescues that go in and try to save them, which is certainly a good thing. But those rescues then are bringing those animals along with the animals that are being bred. They're bringing those animals into our local communities. And that brings me back to our original issue, which is we have too many animals. We can't keep up with the demand for our facility. And so as animals are brought from Holmes County or even other states, you've got rescues that will go to other states and go to high-kill shelters and bring animals in. Again, they all need to be saved. But bringing them into our area then causes us to not be able to adopt as many local dogs out, because we're literally saturated. Our market for animals is saturated in this area and across the country, frankly. So this is a problem we're facing. I've got great people like Hillary and Tori. We've got great board members that are constantly out hustling and trying to raise money to keep our operations going. It's a 24/7 job at our facility. You've got live beings there, so you have to be basically on call at all times if you're not physically working there. So it's definitely a demanding job. How can you all help? There's lots of ways to help. You can foster, like Tori. You can foster some of these animals and give them a loving place to stay while we look hard for a great home for them. You know, our shelter is a service to the community, so we're doing everything we can, but at the same time, it's a very small, limited space. And so we're constantly looking for more fosters. You can donate your time and volunteer, come out and help us out and spend some time with the animals. Provide some enrichment for them and some walks and just some fun lovin's for them. Donate supplies, and certainly monetary donations we can use every day of the week as well. But it takes a community to keep these operations going. It is more and more difficult every year to raise the money that we need to keep things running appropriately. So we look to our community, we look to groups like this to provide some of that support for us, because it takes all of us. And as a parting note, we have an upcoming casino night, if anybody's interested. It's going to be at the Defiance Eagles, but it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be our big fundraiser of the year. But it's going to be a fun night with lots of games, lots of prizes, lots of things to win, and good food, some adult beverages, and it's just going to be a good time all the way around. So we encourage you all, if you're open on October 12th, to get some tickets and come out and join us. Otherwise, thank you for having me today. Thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your week.
Does anyone have any questions?
Is the state trying to do anything to curtail some of these puppy mills and track down on them? I mean, is it time to start calling the state reps and
Yeah,
senators
it is.
saying enough's enough?
Yeah, it is. There's just nothing really being done. They've tried in the last couple of years trying to crack down to make sure they're registering them, so they're able to at least track them. But if no one's doing inspections, if nobody's really regulating them, what's the point? I can go online right now and download the list of all the high volume breeders in Ohio. So what? And that's only half of probably what's out there. So yeah, it's time to call our representatives for sure.
If anybody wants to donate, who do they write a check to, or how do they do that?
Me, no,
That's
just
fair.
kidding.
I agree.
No. You can donate online on our website. You can mail a check to just simply make it out to Fort Defiance Humane Society. And again, supplies are always good. We go through, for example, laundry detergent. We go through gallons of laundry detergent every week because we're doing about 110 loads of laundry every week, just trying to keep up with the demand. So we go through laundry detergent and bleach and disinfectants, and that's in addition to all the food that we go through. As I said, we go through several big bags of dog food every day, and they're $70 a bag. You for mid-range stuff. So it's an expensive operation. We do our best again to get grants and to look for ways to go through charities like Greater Goods Charity, who partners with Chewy, to get things donated to us, not only for us, but for our pet food pantry. But it's a tough go-around because there's so many organizations out there right now, so many shelters, so many rescues that are also struggling, and everybody's vying for the same resources. So it's definitely a tough go for us.
And you also said that you get no money from the county, is that correct?
We get 7% of our income is from the county, but the county brings in 55% of the dollars.
Right. Wow.
Not a good ratio.
No. And Fort Defiance Humane Society, what's the address for that?
7169 State Route 15.
And so, what's your website?
Website is fortdefiancehumane.org.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Hillary, for bringing our program.